great to be joined by Raheem Palmer. Does great work over at The Ringer and has joined me a few times and is back in studio as I know that you're going to be covering some combat sports this weekend, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, yeah, I actually covered
the Canelo fight.
The Canelo, the GGG3 fight. It was a little disappointing, but, if you listen to the Ringer Gambling podcast, I told everybody the most likely result would be Canelo by decision. And that played out the way it did. So, it was a little disappointing to see GGG at his old age at this point kind of just, not be the same guy. But, look, they were warriors. They fought it to the death. And, it is what it is.
Yep, I agree with you because I feel like Canelo bit off a little bit more than he could chew in his previous fight where he went up in weight, and then that just turned out to be a little bit of a disaster for him. But, Canelo really stamped himself in terms of this fight. It was a tremendous trilogy, and what do you think is going to be next for Canelo?
It's tough to say. I know he probably, as a competitor, he probably wants to go back up and fight Bivol, but that's not going to happen. So I think he'll stay at 168. I think GGG will drop back down to 160. But honestly, both of them kind of look towards they look like they're on the tail end of their careers. So it's going to be some careful matchmaking from both of them.
I agree. And when he wound up going up in weight against Bivol, you could tell that he was just completely outgunned. The just technical fighting was there. He just could not match that power of Bivol. That guy is just absolutely tremendous. So it should be interesting to see what we get in the world of boxing. But I know that in terms of just what you do in general, in terms of sports betting, you did a little bit of this tonight. You do a lot of in-game betting, and I know that you wound up having a nice cash tonight. And I just want you to take the people through just some of your strategy, how you go about in-game betting, because you had a lot of success on the baseball slate for Monday, and I know that this is a way that you wind up being able to cash quite a few of your bets.
So, for tonight, I had in-game bet. Giants were down 2 runs at the top of the ninth against the Rockies. Rockies have a bad bullpen. I was getting plus 600, and I could just tell the way the pitcher was pitching. I was like, let me just take a shot on it. But, I'm really big on in-play because it allows you to see what's going on, and then you can kind of pick off bad numbers. So the other day, week 2 of the NFL season, the Jets were playing the Browns, and I'm seeing the Jets, they're actually moving the ball. To me, the Browns, they're not built to blow teams out. So, at one point, it was 17-14, and the Jets were actually about to drive the score. So, as they're driving the score, I can get the Jets at plus 180. Obviously, they call a phantom holding penalty. The Jets ended up having to punt, and then the Browns take a lead, but the Jets got it done. So I do a lot of in-play betting. I'm looking for different numbers. I'm looking to see how drives go. And basketball is probably the best because, a lot of times it's a game of runs. So you could middle both sides of a game. Same with football. You can middle games. You can kind of you can see how drives are going. So, I have a lot of success. And over on the East Coast, a lot of books don't want my action.
And when it comes to in-game betting as well, how much do you take a look at, shall we say, outliers? Because you just mentioned it with basketball. You see a bunch of guys hitting a bunch of crazy 28-footers, and it's like, well, if they just continue this, I will gladly take the loss and just tip my hat. But I do expect this to come down. I think that that's something to take a look at. I feel like in football, you can get crazy bounces like a random fumble return for a touchdown. I don't think that there's as much of that in football as there is in college basketball, but you could certainly tell some tendencies as well. How much do you take a look at some of those things in terms of your in-game betting?
For basketball, there's a formula for pace. I don't remember the formula offhand, but if you type in the formula for pace, it'll give you the number of possessions. So you could look at the number of possessions in a game and say, this team is not hitting this many shots, but they're playing fast. Let me go bet the end game over, stuff like that. In football, a lot of times you can, because there's so many stoppages, it gives you an opportunity to say, look, I like the way this team is moving the ball. Let me jump on them. Or I like how fast that they're playing. Let me take an over. Or this team is playing slow. They're walking it up. I'm going to take an under. If you look at tonight in the Philadelphia Eagles game against the Minnesota Vikings, at some point it became clear the Vikings weren't going to score. And I think with 4 minutes left, you can get the under 38.5. And that means that the team, I think, what was it? It was 24-7. So basically, you could bet a live under, and you would need two teams. You would need them to score twice, and that's easy money right there. So it's easy money in the live markets every single night.
it would have been easy money unless if you would have done that in the Browns versus Jets game, which that was just absolutely crazy. And when you have something like that, you're just like, okay, this typically does wind up hitting. This was a rare exception. Don't get discouraged by the loss or two that you're going to take, because we did see a lot of variance in week 2 of the NFL. And let's hit on that right now, because week 2 of the NFL, it certainly did deliver a lot of, shall we say, surprises. I know that you were probably quite happy with the results, because I know that you're a Philadelphia Eagles futures ticket holder. And hey, for the Dallas Cowboys, give them credit where credit is due. They came out, they knocked off the Cincinnati Bengals. But just in terms of takeaways from week 2 in the NFL, what were some of the biggest for you?
I think the first takeaway right now is that you're seeing scoring at an all-time low. I mean,
yeah.
You look at like the last 3 years. I mean, right now in 2021, the average point total amongst teams is 21 points a game. I mean, last year was 23. The year before that was 24. So you're seeing a lot of really, really low totals. I mean, even in a game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers, you're seeing a low total in that. And that, I mean, that's between two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, you're seeing 39, you're seeing 40, you're seeing 42. So that's one of the first takeaways. I mean, my second takeaway, I think one of the things that I'm seeing is that I'm upgrading and downgrading teams. Like a team like the Colts, I think you have to totally downgrade them. I mean, obviously they had some injury issues. Shaq Leonard's been out. The offensive line is just not the same. Pittman's been out. So, I mean, but you have to downgrade them after that performance. The Ravens and in the Dolphins game, I was big on the Dolphins the other day. The Dolphins, I mean, Tua came out in a big way. I mean, so you kind of have to upgrade both of those offenses. So there's a lot of interesting things to take away from week 2.
I agree. And the one team that I've had to downgrade as well, even though they had the win on Sunday, is the Denver Broncos, just because I take a look at the coaching ordeal with that. Nathaniel Hackett is doing the worst job I've ever seen in my life. And I put up with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, and he makes Mike McCarthy look like Thomas Edison at this point. It's just been really bad. And I don't know if you've had to make some adjustments with the Denver Broncos, but this is just a team that at this point I want no part of.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that Nathaniel Hackett can't hack it. I mean, to put it bluntly. I mean, when you look at that team, I mean, look, in the red zone, they're really struggling. I mean, in the red zone, they're not running the ball to Javonte. I mean, Javonte is one of the best running backs up and coming, and for you to just pass 3 times, and then there was like multiple times, I've never seen this. I don't know if you've ever seen this in an NFL game where the fans are actually counting down the play clock because the quarterback doesn't know what's going on. So it's really a mess over there, and obviously the market agrees with us because we've seen the San Francisco 49ers get bet down from 2-point underdogs, and now they're looking like they're favorites at this point in time. So I agree with the market move, but I don't know if I can step in at this price, but it's probably, for me, I'm probably going to have to pass just because obviously Denver's home field advantage is just so daunting early on in the season, but I just don't think Nathaniel Hackett's a good coach, and I just think we know what the 49ers are with Jimmy G, and they have a solid defense, so the market made the right move on it. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get involved.
I totally agree. I think that the market move is correct on this game. And just looking at the San Francisco 49ers, not just for this week, but long term, I think that Jimmy G is good for this team. I felt like that coming into the season. I thought that they were trying to rush along the Trey Lance project. You hope for absolutely nothing but the best for Trey Lance. That is just a devastating way. You want these guys, whether you think that they should be starting or not, to be able to decide it on the field. You don't want to see a guy get brought out on a stretcher, but I do think that in the end, the 49ers should feel very thankful that they did not trade away Jimmy G, and I think that this is good for their team.
I think it's amazing for the team, and I think you saw it in the locker room. You saw it with guys who they just rallied around Jimmy G. I mean, when you have a guy who brought you to a Super Bowl, have a guy who brought you to an NFC Championship game, it's hard to back away from that. And I think the thing is, it would have helped Trey Lance if he had to earn that position. They kind of just gave it to him. And, you know, in football, you can't do that. Like, guys respect the guy who earns it. And Trey Lance didn't earn it. He was given it.
Yep, I totally agree because they drafted him number 3 overall, and you could tell that they were like, okay, because we drafted him number 3 overall, we're going to try to insert him into the starting lineup right away. And I don't think that that's the way to go about it. And in terms of the NFC West, do you think that the 49ers at plus 150, as we've got about 30 seconds, have a little bit of value in terms of the futures market?
Oh, I do. I think they're the best team in the division by far. I mean, when you look at the Rams, look, the Rams to me, they weren't a great team coming into this season, if you ask me. I mean, look, they were a stars and scrubs team, and they got hot at the right time last year. Obviously, look at the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they're still a mess right now. So, and then when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, they're in rebuild mode. So I think the 49ers are the best team in the division, and I think Jimmy G puts them over the top.
I agree, and we will pick up on this, taking a look at Week 3 next here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Experiencing Hoops Peterson himself on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Start your football season off on the right foot by subscribing to VSiN Pro. Get full access to everything that we do, including our daily picks at a glance, recapping all the top plays made by VSiN show hosts and guests, 24/7 video, season prep, including our weekly college and pro football matchup guides, covering every game all season long, pro tools like our exclusive betting splits and pro tips, updated every hour with actionable insights to help your sports betting game. Sign up for our discounted football special and get VSiN Pro access to everything that we do now through the Super Bowl for just $175, or save 50% off the monthly price with an annual subscription, and bet smarter all year long. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe for all of your options and become a part of the Sports Betting Network. As we're back here on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, being rejoined by Raheem Palmer here at the desk, does amazing work over at The Ringer. And Raheem, we talked about a game a little bit before that we feel like the right move was made in terms of Broncos versus 49ers with the flip of favorites there. But in terms of the Week 3 games and some of the moves that we've seen, have there been any that have caught your attention and any that you've fired on to this point?
I like the Baltimore Ravens -3 against the New England Patriots. Look, obviously last week I was on the Dolphins, but when you look at that game, where do the Baltimore Ravens struggle? They struggle in the secondary, and I don't think this New England Patriots offense has the weapons to really take advantage of the issues that the Baltimore Ravens have. And I think you do have to upgrade the Baltimore Ravens offense after what we saw last week. So, I mean, they proved that they could handle that zero blitz. I just think Lamar, they had some crucial turnovers. But, I mean, when you look historically, Jim Harbaugh has, he's given Bill Belichick and those Patriots trouble even down to the days of Brady. So I think the Baltimore Ravens bounce back here. I mean, this is a team that we were really high on coming onto the year. We're really low on the Patriots. So I think this is a good spot to fade.
And I do think that as well, because we were talking a little bit off air about the MVP market. Lamar Jackson at 12-1 seems to me the best play on the board right now. Josh Allen, he's right now the leader in the clubhouse in terms of the odds market. Plus 350 is just too low, in my opinion, when you got guys like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and company out there, and Jalen Hurts at 10-1 to win MVP. I think we'd both be in agreement that's just too low at this point, but I think Lamar Jackson at 12-1, honestly, if you're looking at the futures market, provides value.
I mean, I took some 20-1 before the season started, so I'm sitting pretty with that position. I do think, I mean, honestly, from what I saw this season, I think Josh Allen is the rightful favorite. But, I mean, look, at plus 350 or so, I don't want to really be jumping on that. I think when it comes to these markets, you want to get the long shots, so you want at least getting 10-1 or something like that. But I do think whoever got, I think Jalen Hurts was 16-1 coming into this weekend, and I think obviously that's going to change now. So, I don't know. I mean, I think you want to be looking at those. I do like the Lamar at 12-1, but I mean, it's unfortunate he couldn't finish off that game because I mean that would have really put him in a better position.
Totally agree with you, and I do think that it just has went a little bit too far on Jalen Hurts at a 10-1, but I still feel very good about the Philadelphia Eagles right now in terms of their odds to be able to win the NFC East. They are getting better and better and better, and I thought that they looked very solid in Week 2. No question, the defense that it looked a little bit shaky towards the back half of that game against the Detroit Lions. They shored that up, and right now we're finding them between 4 and 4.5 point favorites against the Washington Commanders. And if there's a team that coming into the season I was looking at and I was like, man, I don't want any part of them, it was the Washington Commanders, just because I look at the track record of Carson Wentz, not trustworthy. He pretty much got thrown out of Indianapolis because he played so bad in that last game against the Jaguars last season. With the Philadelphia Eagles, they open up in a lot of spots, right around about a 3-point favorite. This wound up ticking up to 4 late Sunday, and this has settled in between 4 and 4.5. Do you think that this is the right move? Because even though the Philadelphia Eagles are on the road, I certainly do agree with this movement.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you look at that game between the Detroit Lions and the Commanders, I mean, the Detroit Lions absolutely dominated them on both sides of the ball. I mean, they got whatever they wanted on offense, and Carson Wentz, I mean, they really struggled to block for him. Now, in the second half, obviously, they lit things up, but I just think a lot of that came in garbage time, and I think the Eagles, I mean, they're the cream of the crop in the NFC, so I think the Eagles should be able to handle them, but I'm interested to see where that line goes, just because – I mean, look, I think the whole world is going to be on the Eagles after what we saw tonight. So, I mean, this is a market. So, you kind of really want to see where things go.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I do think that there's many people thinking like I do that, you know what, I don't want to be trusting in Carson Wentz. I would much rather trust in a Philadelphia Eagles team that's 2-0 coming off of a very nice Monday Night Football win. And when it comes to the NFC, I just take a look at the entirety of the conference, and it feels wide open. I know that coming into the season, you took a little bit of action on the Philadelphia Eagles, and right now that is looking very good. But I just take a look at this entire NFC. The Buccaneers, they were able to get the job done over the weekend, but I've not necessarily been too impressed by them. There's the memes out there on social media about Tom Brady and his personal life. Not that I take a look at that, but I do think that it is worth noting, because when a guy is dealing with things in their personal life, sometimes that translates onto the field as well. But when it comes to the NFC, where are you at just in terms of the entire conference? Because I do think that it's about as wide open can get. And with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that they've got a chance to make a big run out there.
Yeah, I do think the Philadelphia Eagles have a chance to make a big run. Actually, one of my positions that I took a flyer on is the New York Giants, plus 10-1 to win the NFC East. And they're sitting pretty at 2-0. Now, I don't think they're going to make a lot of damage, but I mean, I do like the fact that, they're 2-0 right now. And Brian DeBoer has really kind of changed things around with that franchise. So I kind of like that. When I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to me, they kind of remind me of the Peyton Manning Broncos his last year, where they're going to dominate on defense, and then Tom kind of has to take a step back. I mean, obviously the offense really isn't there, and then look, you lose Mike Evans this week for a suspension.
That entire injury report for the Buccaneers is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a mess. So I mean, look, you're seeing the Green Bay Packers actually take some money. I think that's been bet down from +3 to +2.5. So I mean, I honestly, I may find myself on the Green Bay Packers money line this week, just because I think the Buccaneers are so banged up, and I just think they're in a bad spot.
I will say this, being someone from the great state of Wisconsin, it feels like the Green Bay Packers, when they go to the state of Florida and the state of California, somehow, some way, they forget how to play football. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's something in the water, but that is something to be alert of. And with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, certainly has not been aesthetically pleasing to this point, but they have been able to get to 2-0 to this point. And what else I think is going to be intriguing as well is a team that I was high on coming into the year, the New Orleans Saints. We're finding them in a lot of spots moving to a 3-point favorite, opened up at 2.5. I'm still seeing a straight 2.5 at DraftKings, no question. I would rather lay at 2.5 than at 3, but I'll look at this Carolina Panthers team, and even with Christian McCaffrey out there on the field, they look like a hot mess. Baker Mayfield, certainly a little bit of an upgrade as compared to what they've had at quarterback the last 2 to 3 years. But when it comes to the Saints, I do think that this team is going to be able to bounce back a little bit. They've been hot and cold themselves, but they closed out well against the Atlanta Falcons. And with Panthers, there's a good chance that Matt Rule gets fired, and they just don't look like they're on the same page right now.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you here. I think the biggest issue with this handicap is that Jameis Winston has a broken back. When I heard that news and they said, oh, it can't get any worse, the thing I thought of was when Mike Tyson told Jim Gray, my back is broken. Spinal. Yeah, so it's just like, how do you, factor that in here? Because obviously Jameis wasn't the same guy, and obviously it's a much tougher Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, but I think this line is kind of lined right, so I have to see a little bit more. Obviously, Alvin Kamara didn't play last week. I actually had some of that news earlier because I have a mutual friend of Alvin Kamara. Shouts to him, so I was able to find that out. So that kind of kept me off of that Saints game.
Yep, I cannot blame you if you don't want to take a shot on the Saints if they don't have Alvin Kamara, and if the starting quarterback also has a broken back, that is something to watch out for as well. And we were speaking of injuries, and with the LA Chargers, it's such a precarious spot for them as well, because Justin Herbert, for anyone that had the Chargers +4, I was one of them. Your number might have varied a little bit, but you can never say anything bad about Justin Herbert in your life because that man put up a Herculean effort in order to get your ticket to the window, and the team didn't even win the game outright. But right now they're a touchdown favorite against the Jaguars with Justin Herbert. It feels like the reports are a little bit better than what it looked like, but I don't want any part of this game until I see a little bit later on during the week what the injury report looks like. Not sure if you agree with me on that or not, but I think that this is one of these games that you want to wait and you want to get more information on.
Honestly, I think the best move would probably be to grab the Jags right now at +7 because if he's ruled out, I mean, you're going to see a 7-8 point line move. Now, I think Chase Daniels isn't that – like he's a serviceable backup. But, I mean, if you can grab that number now and you see the number come down, I think you're in a good position. Now, if he's ruled in, I think you see this line maybe go up to 7.5 or so. But, look, even with him in the lineup, it's just, to me, the Chargers are just a team full of variance. And, look, I mean, the offensive coordinator, he needs some work. I mean, I think for as good as Herbert is, his intended air yards are about 5.8, which is, like, lower than any other quarterback of his caliber. So I kind of like the Jags in this spot. I'm not going to lie to you.
I can't blame you there because you've got much more to gain rather than lose in this spot, and we always have a nice game whenever Raheem Palmer's on the show. A big thanks to him for joining me in studio, and coming up next, I'm going to give you guys my DK Nation pick on the Diamond for Tuesday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's game time, baby! And you're just lying there? Watching on the couch? That's not gonna cut it. You need to get in the game with BetRivers Sportsbook. There you go. Now you're live in the action. Live in-game bets, live player props, and live instant betting.
What happened here?
Don't just watch the game. Get in the game with BetRivers Sportsbook.
VSiN introduces 3 new weekend shows to get football bettors ready for the action. Saturdays at 8 p.m., the Football Contest Show gives the latest strategy and updates for season-long Survivor players and the legendary Contests from Circa Sportsbook. Sundays at noon, Brent Musburger's Countdown to Kickoff brings icons together right before the games begin. And Sundays at 2, join Jonathan Von Tobel and attack the board with college lines revealed. Every weekend only on VSiN.
It's football season, and bettors know that this is when the money is made. Nobody knows football like VSiN, and now's the time to become a VSiN subscriber and get our comprehensive college and pro guides. Only VSiN subscribers get all the tools to prep for the college and pro football seasons. Our experts provide profiles of every team with advanced stats and power ratings, plus best bets on season win totals, division finishes, and player awards. Sign up early, and for a discounted $175, you'll receive both guides and full VSiN access all the way through the Super Bowl. Or join us for $40 a month and see everything VSiN has to up your betting game. Go to vsin.com/subscribe for all your options and become part of the Sports Betting Network.
If you didn't catch Follow the Money, here's what you missed.
What are you seeing out of Denver and Hackett so far in 2 games?
Well, I think it's a struggle for Nathaniel. There's no doubt. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett's having a hard time. He's having a hard time because his quarterback isn't playing well. I mean, his quarterback doesn't want to run. I mean, his quarterback, look, why are we shocked? It was on tape last year. Seattle finally said, you know what, we think he's declining. If you read that ESPN article, he wasn't the same. I mean, what did he have, 15 completions yesterday? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think the Houston Texans defense is going to go down as the 64 Packers or the 0-2 Ravens. I mean, come on now, you know? Yeah. And he misses throws, and he won't run. He just literally will not run, and that's why when they get in the red zone, they don't make any plays. Russ is not cooking. He's cooking at the Hackensack Diner. He ain't cooking at the French Laundry. No. So that's the thing.
Follow the Money, weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Check out the new betting splits feature on VSiN.com before you place your next bet. Every day we post the latest splits with the percentage of bets and money on teams and total for each game. Track which teams are seeing the most tickets written and if the public action matches the money coming in on those games to give yourself an edge. Betting splits plus live odds, line moves, power ratings, and game analysis makes VSiN.com the place to visit before you place your next bet. That's VSIN.com. Check out the VSiN store for the latest and greatest in sports betting fashion. We have more than 40 shirt designs, including our most popular one, Cash and Tickets is what it's all about. You'll find VSiN shirts and hats for any occasion, and they're all made to order so you can find the right design, color, and size perfect just for you. You'll find VSiN hats and even VSiN coffee mugs all in our online store. Just go to VSiN.com/store and order now. That's VSiN.com/store.
You're experiencing Hoops Peterson himself on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kick off the season with BetRivers Online Sportsbook. They are your go-to sportsbook for everything football, with every line boost, special, and so much more. Lace them up with the parlay insurance and touchdown insurances offered every Sunday as all season long. If you have a 4-leg parlay and it loses, you can get your stake back as a free bet of up to $25. Wager on any player to score the first touchdown on Sunday Night Football, and you get your money back as a free bet if they score at any time. Head on over to BetRivers.com or download the BetRivers app. It's a whole new game as we're back here on the Greg Peterson Experience here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and a big thanks to Raheem Palmer. He does great work over at the